looking at the situation, they're saying, we're in trouble. But they only see a part of the situation. And what God is doing is he's showing them the whole situation. So verse 1, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So you think about that, and you think of all the times when money was short, when this is about to happen. What am I going to do? Oh, but that's because we don't see the whole situation. And what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to take a step back because we know who does see the whole situation. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says, now we see but a poor reflection as in a mirror or as in a glass dimly lit. The idea is we don't get a clear picture. Then we shall see face to face. Now we know in part, then we shall know fully, even as we are fully known. So we only see a part of the situation. So when you're afraid,
says,
when
now
you're
we
scared,
see but a
when you're
poor
worried,
reflection.
You need to realize, I only see a part of the situation. And I got to realize that God is in control. So the passage goes on. Then the Lord said to Isaiah, get
As
out.
in a mirror or as in a glass dimly lit. The
He
idea
said,
is we
"Get
don't
out,
get a
you
clear
and your
picture.
son, shear Jashub,
Then we shall see face
meet
to face.
Ahaz
Now
at the
we
end
know
of
in
the
part,
aqueduct of the upper
then we...
pool on the road to the launderer's field." Now, why is that important? Why do we need to know? Okay, so basically it says, grab your son, Isaiah, grab your son and go to Ahaz at the end of the aqueduct of the upper pool on the road to the launderer's field. In other words, this is a specific place. This really happened. Say to him, verse 4, say to him, be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these two smoldering stubs of firewood, because of the fierce anger of Rezin and Aram, and of the son of Remaliah. Aram, for the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is only Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim will be too shattered to be a people. The head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is only Remaliah's son. If you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. So basically what he says is, hey, Isaiah, I want you to grab your son, this guy, Shear Jashub. I want you to grab him, and he is going to be an object lesson to Ahaz. And the object lesson, so what does his son's name mean? A remnant shall return. I want you to take your son to Ahaz and just point him out and say, do you know his name? A remnant has returned. In other words, it's not over. It's not over. And what I want you to see is, he says, be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these two smoldering stubs of firewood. Basically what he says is these two guys, these two kingdoms that are coming after you, they're like, it's like little coals. They're smoking, but there's no fire. There are a lot of smoke and no fire. Don't worry about it. I've got it. He's telling him exactly what is happening. And he tells them this. He says, because of their fierce anger of Rezin and Aram, which that's just Syria. Rezin is the head of Syria. And the son of Remaliah, which is Israel. And then verse 5, Aram. So if you look back at verse 5, Aram, so that's Syria. And then it says, Ephraim and Remaliah's son, which is just Israel, those two have plotted your ruin, saying, let us invade. It will not happen. And then verse 8, look at verse 8. For the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is only Rezin. That is like if God looked to us and we said, oh my gosh, the US of A is coming after us. And God said, don't worry about the United States of America. The United States of America, the head of the USA is D.C., and the head of D.C. right now is Joe Biden. That's what he said. See, why'd you guys laugh? A lot of you guys just laughed. And I think that's very telling. But you get what I'm saying? That's what he says. He says, The head of Aram is this guy, is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is this guy. Like, what? Don't worry about it. I got this. Be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. So whatever situation you're in, remember, you're only seeing part of the situation, and you need to just be careful, be calm, and don't be afraid. Do you know what be careful looks like? Be calm. See, the opposite of careful and calm is, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? This is what's going on. And so you're moving and you're going all over the place. And he's just saying, stop. Just stop. Be careful and be calm. He says, if you don't stand firm now, right? Look what he says. If you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. You just need to, look, when things are sketchy, when you're looking around and you're only seeing part of the situation, stop. Did you spill? Did you spill? Okay, well, somebody did. And you know how it is. After a couple hours, it's all sticky. And so it's all sticky. And there's a men's, so my classroom is here, and there's the water fountain, and then there's the men's bathroom and the girls' bathroom. And in between those two is the janitor's closet. So I'm a fixer, right? And it's sticky. Like, this is not good. So I'm like, I go over to the janitor's closet, and there happens to be a mop in there. Now, there's a big sink, but there's no bucket with the, what do you even call that? The squisher, right? So I just get the mop wet, and I go to where it's all sticky, and it is slick. And I start telling this kid who's right here, I'm like, bro, like, I'm going to have to stand out here and, like, tell people to be careful, because no more had I said, it was like U of H all over again. No more had I said that to that kid, then all of a sudden you hear a noise. Yeah, don't worry. So when this kid fell, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did you hear? Yeah, look, same shirt, same pants, same shoes. Look how careful I'm walking. I'm like, are you okay? That's pretty good. Like, I don't know, crazy. But the idea is, yeah, it's like, again, be careful and stand at all. And so the passage goes on, and look what he says. Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. So that's the first time God spoke to him through Isaiah. Now he's saying, steps or in the highest heights. How cool would that be? If God said to you, hey, you know what? You don't know what to do here? You don't know where to go to college? You don't know what to do about this job or that job or whatever? I'll tell you what. Is it not enough to try the patience of humans? Will you try the patience of my God also? Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. In other words, I just told you to ask for a sign. You're not listening to me. You're not only trying people's, now you're going to try my patience. I'm going to give you a sign. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Verse 14. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. He will be eating curds and honey when he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. For before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right, the land of the two kings you dread will be laid waste. The Lord will bring on you and on your people and on the house of your father a time unlike any, since Ephraim broke away from Judah. He will bring the king of Assyria. So what kind of sign do you want? He says, I don't want to put God to the test. You think back to Exodus 17, that's where Moses tests God. You think to Deuteronomy 6:16, where it says, do not put the Lord your God to the test, as you did at Manasseh. So, and God says, you're not trying man's patience, you're trying my patience. He says, but there's going to be this virgin, which in Hebrew means a young woman, who's going to have a child. And you will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. And then he says, look at this. Before that boy, he'll be eating, he'll be doing all these things. But before he knows enough to reject the wrong and do the right, the land of the two kings you dread will be laid waste. There's going to be this young girl, and she's going to have a baby. And before that baby, and I put the timeline there, before that baby is about 13 years old, all your problems that you're so worried about are going to be wiped out. It's going to be over. The capital of Israel, Samaria, fell to the Assyrian Empire in 722 BC. The current time of this was 735. So about 13 years. He says in 13 years, this is all going to be over. So God is telling him, this is what's going to happen. God says, I'm going to give you a sign. And this sign to Ahaz is, there's going to be a young Hebrew girl who's going to have a kid. And by the time that kid is about 13 years old, before he's able to, and what's this stuff about before he can choose the right and reject the wrong? In Jewish culture, what's that called? For a boy, bar mitzvah, yeah. So about the time the boy's 13, he has a bar mitzvah, and now he should know how to choose the right. So before that time, all your problems are going to be taken care of with this. Don't worry about it. What's great, though, is God just doesn't give a sign to Ahaz. We know that if you look in Matthew, that God says that he gave that sign not just for Ahaz, but for us today, right? That the virgin, this young Hebrew girl, will give birth, and you will call him Emmanuel, which means God. What's that called? For a boy, bar mitzvah, yeah. So about the time the boy's 13, he has a bar mitzvah, and now he is
if we are paying attention,
he should know how to choose the right. So before that time, all your problems are going to be taken care of.
aren't just good for that
Don't
one moment,
worry about
but
it.
they're good for the future too.